Welcome to Ladies in Law, where real-world advice meets professional wisdom and empowerment in realms of law and business. Your hosts, Lisa Goucher, Dawn Smith, and Kellye Raymond, bring you innovative strategies, practical guidance, and inspirational stories. Join us as we inspire and support women to thrive in traditionally male-dominated fields. We're here to promote inclusivity and provide practical advice for success.
Hi, this is Lisa. I'm here with Dawn and Kellye, and today we're going to talk about, sometimes it's necessary to talk about the hard things. And in this situation, it's the new year, things are going on, so it's like forging ahead through adversity. Sometimes January doesn't necessarily mean new beginnings, right? Maybe not in the most positive way. And for me in my business, in my court reporting business, what that means is law firms, attorneys go the whole year, they wait for their bonuses, and then comes the tail end of December and the beginning of January. And what you have is just basically folks going different places, starting different firms. And so what it does for me is it just creates uncertainty. Business does not always stay the same. And that's one of the things related to business.
Well, Lisa, I think that's it's a great topic for us to talk about, because I think being uncertain in your business it's something that is a given. It is going to happen. And it's always scary, right? Uncertainty and fear really go hand in hand. And so trying to figure out what is, you've identified what is the uncertainty, right? But what that looks like moving forward is always sometimes not a clear path presents itself. And sometimes you just have to wade your way through the uncertainty. I thought it was so interesting when you talked about, January is not always just new beginnings, and we all want it to be like a reset and it's going to be great. January was really slow for my business, and sort of in it, I was like, this is kind of great, right? And I was like really happy to have the time. But as any business owner knows, when you're slow, you're not making money, right? And being busy and the challenges that busyness has, it means that it's cranking, right? And so uncertainty with when business is slow, or when there are variables that you can't control that have an impact on your ability to do your business. It's something that every business owner has to worry about and to be thinking about.
Yeah. And I guess the thing about it is a plan has to be put in place, right? Because otherwise, if you stay in that place of uncertainty, then you're stuck. And, you got to move, because you're either going to move it to the positive or move it to the negative, but doing absolutely nothing is not an option. So what I've been doing, because I don't know if I'm still going to have the business. I mean, it changes the whole dynamic when you have attorneys leaving a firm and starting a new firm. Some are taking clients with them, some aren't taking clients, some are bringing in new attorneys to take over those cases. And it's all about, like we've talked about this, ladies, it comes down to relationships.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes I get frustrated with myself that I'm like, oh gosh, I didn't spend enough intentional time building relationships in a certain segment. And so day in and day out, that shows itself where your relationships are and what they do for you. And our community right here on this podcast is a relationship that feeds me, feeds my soul. You guys give me the opportunity to bounce things off of you. You're both business owners. So, it's just executing, making a plan. And I'll just tell you what my plan's been this week. I've been all over the place, meaning, getting in front of people.
It's, the importance of having good relationships as business is really key. But I think a lot of times, especially when business is busy and you get things rolling, or your work schedule is busy, the relationships can always kind of easily fall by the wayside. Because it's not this is where I don't need to be somewhere at a specific time. But fostering relationships is something that you always realize is not, if it's not as strong as it needs to be, you're always realizing it in sort of the worst moment, right? Like,
Yeah,
shit,
I
let me
agree.
let me put myself in front of people. I had kind of a slow month, and that was exactly what I went back to. It was, okay, let me really focus on getting out, scheduling some lunches, going to, happy hours or whatever the case may be, and just seeing people. Not with the goal to talk about business, but 100% of the time I put myself in a position where, it's just interacting with other folks. I end up seeing somebody that says, oh, you know what? I've been meaning to call you. Let's talk about a case.
Yeah, you want to be front of mind. Front of
Right.
mind. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and we all know life happens, right? At times where, you just don't have the opportunity because other things are taking over. You can't do everything 100% all the time. And so for me, what that looked like in October of 2023, when my first granddaughter was born and my daughter's husband was off in Marine boot camp, that meant I spent the next 8 to 9 months, 2 to 3 nights a week, staying with my daughter so that she would have some type of relief. Well, that created, a lot of that took a lot of time. I have absolutely no regrets. But now just looking at where things are now, and I'm like, wow, I really haven't been out there like I need to. So, and now they're stationed, they're living together, they got their program. So that's not needed for me. But, 8 to 9 months, like out of your typical circuit, really, really shows itself. Really shows itself.
What I try to do is make a list of all the folks that I find really interesting, that I've met, that I've interacted with, that I've come across at conferences or, I don't know, luncheons or anything like that. Somebody that I've made a connection with. And I really try to have dedicated time to reach out to them at least once a quarter. So either calling them up or sending an email or texting or something like that, just to keep that, because I feel like, we, at least for me, I meet so many amazing people. And if I don't take that time to build a relationship at the beginning, then you just kind of lose that momentum that you built initially. So having some sort of a system to where you keep track of the folks that you've interacted with, that you've really, automatically formed just kind of a bond with, for whatever reason, and then intentionally reaching out to them at least quarterly. I think that's super helpful. So
That's
you're not
a
all,
great idea.
yeah.
I kind of do something similar, but not by design, and it's not a process. But I'm going to steal that now, so that I can be a bit more intentional. But I find that whenever I'm talking to, whether it be a friend or a brand new acquaintance, asking people questions and figuring out what they've got going on in their lives. And that allows you to be able to reach out and say, oh, I saw this article and you told me you were interested in XYZ, whatever it was. Or I heard your daughter just got into Michigan and I lived in Ann Arbor as a kid. And, just as a way to just reach out and put yourself back in somebody's orbit, especially, and like you said, Dawn, we are so fortunate. We get to meet so many cool people, great trial lawyers and business owners, and so many people that have something to offer, that I just want kind of all of it. Right. And so having a reason to reach out, and put yourself back in somebody's orbit who is just really, interesting, or that you could learn something from, is, I like your process of kind of making it more intentional.
As it relates to social media, you think of when people are either takers or they're givers. So if you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and you're not ever engaging and making thoughtful comments, because there is opportunity to build relationship there and to keep up with people. Like, I love that. I just did a Galentine's, because this is Valentine's week. I did a Galentine's event last night. And, it was a mishmash of my legal friends, my cheer mom friends, and you bring everybody together. Even with the rain in Dallas, we ended up with about 15 people there, 15 women. And, the thing about the social media is that a lot of them were, I was able to be in the know, be in the loop. I had engaged with them. So when we got together, just picking up where we left off. So that's just another way to go. And I do love the quarterly thing. Dawn. I did that a couple years ago, and my husband, I was even implementing it for family members to go see the aunts and uncles, like in Tulsa.
Mhm.
And he was like, do not tell them you're making your quarterly visit. I'm like, no, well, I don't mean it like, they're my quarter. I said, I'm just trying to be mindful and, see, because you know how quickly time passes. It's going to be July.
Mhm.
And who do you want to see before July? Who do you want to talk to?
That's right, Lisa. You started with the quarterly meetups,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what started this whole.
We did it 3
emphasis.
times that year, and then fourth
Yep.
quarter we couldn't get together. So
No, but we did a pretty good job.
yeah, just being mindful.
That's another thing about social media. Like, you really can kind of keep up and be knowledgeable about what is happening with other people just by being, I don't know, being curious. I just think it's important to not just be on there for yourself. I mean, be on there curious about what's going on with other people, because I mean, that's how you build relationships, is make sure that you actually care about what's going on with others and in their lives. And I don't know, if you're building a community, that helps you when you're trying to get through adversity as well. Wherever you are in business or family or anything like that, I think.
No, I think that's right, especially because I don't think I'm a dummy, but I don't think of every great idea, especially as it relates to business. And I think just talking to y'all and talking to people that are, they could be doing something completely different from you, but you could get a great business idea from it. Or just some extra motivation, some juice to kind of get your own wheels turning when you I find that if I kind of keep myself in a place where I'm constantly learning, and being curious, like you said, then there's no downside to it, right? Is there? I don't know. I don't think
I
so.
don't think
I think it keeps you in a, like you said, in a place of growth. And the reason why I really resonate with that, Kellye, is because when I sold my last court reporting firm in 2016, and I had that 3-year non-compete, I needed to honor it. I have a lot of friends. So, I mean, I'm not saying I cut my friends off, but I removed myself from legal. And, it was okay for the first year, because it was just a blessing to be done. My partner and I had gotten sideways with each other. So that had been 18 months of just terror hell. And so, the year after, but then I was like, wow, I really miss my friends in the legal community, like all of them, like, the friends that I see at the conferences. And so when I removed myself from that, I kind of felt like, oh gosh, I missed that whole segment. I missed that whole community. And so for me, when you said growth, that's growth. Like when you're going to conferences, you're seeing, other people, friends, people that have been in the industry, in the asbestos industry. People have been around for years and years, even though it's from coast to coast. We all know each other. And I'm not saying I know everyone, but I know people all across the country. And so I look forward to those connections, and those connections do promote growth, which kind of explains why this week I'm like, all right, I just need to get out there and get in front of people. I need to have conversations. I've missed them, and I just, want the opportunity for connection.
You're great at that, Lisa. You really are. I mean, as long as you're putting yourself out there. But I've never ever seen you. I mean, I don't remember this 8 to 9 months of hiatus. I'll just say. I mean, I was there during that period of time, and I didn't feel like there was any kind of hiatus. You've always kind of run it at a pretty good clip. We had Jody Neal on, and one thing that she said is that when you're trying to make big decisions or trying to move to that next level, it's good to have a little quiet and a little peace and sit and be still. And it's really hard, I think, to balance that between feeling stagnant or not moving. There's just this balance that you have to somehow work through, to just make sure that you're giving yourself enough time and enough peace and enough calm, to clear your mind to make that decision. So do you feel like you've done that, Lisa? Do you feel like you've given yourself enough time, or are you feeling stuck?
No, I don't feel stuck. I actually feel, there's some uncertainty there, but I actually have this wave of all these things that I want to do.
That's
Huh.
awesome.
You
That
know,
it's a blessing, right? Because I think a
yes.
lot of times when I feel like if I face adversity or if things are not going the way that I think they should be going, your sort of gut reaction, I think, is either A, to be stuck, not being still and waiting and being mindful, but being stuck and stagnant, versus like just go hit the ground running and try to do what you can do. But sometimes if it's a little too frenetic and it's not thought out,
Mhm.
then you could just be sort of spinning like a top. And so I think there's got to be this balance between, okay, something has come along that I wasn't anticipating or that I don't like or that is not good for me or my business. It's this fine line, I think, between like taking a moment, taking a beat, assessing how this happened and what, might need to change or what you want to take away from that. And then not being stagnant and hitting the ground running and think, okay, if I might not have a good idea just yet, but let me just, force my introverted self to go to like a couple of happy hours and just talk to people and see what they've got going on.
Yeah,
So true. Go ahead.
another thing I was just thinking is like it's an opportunity to kind of refocus and make sure that you take a second to figure out, are you doing exactly what you want?
Mhm.
Are you being fulfilled by where you are right now? And maybe you're in this position because it's time to make some decisions and to be able to make a good change and make a good decision about where you're going. That takes some analysis of what's important. Where do you want to spend your time? I'm a really big proponent of personal core values. I swear, this whole core value thing, I didn't even really know about it or at least pay attention to it until maybe 5 or 6 years ago when we started getting really serious about coming up with core values for our business. But this concept of having personal core values, and when you're making decisions about your core value, well, no, when you're making decisions about what you want to do in a circumstance, you can ask yourself, is that consistent with my core values? Is this
I don't
step
think I've ever done
consistent?
that. I don't I don't even know if I could like list my core values for you. That's a really interesting exercise.
I'm telling you, so it was. I had this huge list. I got this. I'm going to get my LLM at Baylor, and I have to finish by August. They've been so amazing with me, and I'm behind, but I have to graduate by this August. And I got to go to an in-person session, and there was an amazing speaker that went through and really talked to us about coming up with your personal core values. And I hadn't, like I said, I hadn't really thought about it. But it was just a list, and the first thing is to just circle as many as you think are consistent with how you have a reaction to the words. Those are consistent with how you feel about what you are and what you want to be in life, and then you narrow them down. And I'll tell you what I did is I stuck the ones that I narrowed down into Chat GPT. That's how I decided to do it. And I just asked ChatGPT, these are the core values that I think align with who I am. Help me narrow them down. And it did. And I went through this huge discussion with ChatGPT about narrowing down core values and kind of refining those core values and just getting that kind of brainstorming going. It really helped. And now when I'm making decisions, I have a list of actually I have 6 things. And when I'm doing something, I ask myself, is this decision that I'm making consistent with what my personal core values are? And that has really helped a lot. It really has.
Well, that makes sense because being busy doesn't necessarily mean being productive.
Right.
So if you're looking at your list on and it's going to keep you busy, but it doesn't fall in line with your core values, then like it's out. I'm
Exactly.
like always want to be productive. I don't want to be just busy. The word busy, I think it's overused. It's like a busy
We're
contest.
all busy,
Everybody's
right? I mean,
busy. Yeah.
everybody's busy, but I think that's so helpful when you are considering that your most precious asset is your time. And if you are busy but not being productive, if you or if you're busy and being productive, but it is for things that aren't fulfilling for you or that aren't in a line with how you are in your being, your core value, or what you want, what your goal is for, whatever it is, the important level. I don't know. Yeah, it's really interesting. I've never really sat down and thought about. I know I'm busy, but everybody's busy, right? But are
Mhm.
you being productive, or are you wasting time kind of in the busyness, and you're not
Mhm.
being as productive as you could be? I think for business, that's a problem, right? If
Right.
you
Yeah.
are wasting time, and time is your most valuable asset, that's a problem.
Yeah. There's that grid, right, where you're supposed to line everything up, the things that you're great at, to the things that you're great at but you hate, things that you're great at and you love, things that you are terrible at and you hate, and the ones in the middle. That's super helpful too if you're stuck. Just kind of putting those all of the things that you're spending your time, because my partner always says we all have the same 24. So it's a matter of spending the time where you're really achieving the most you can, um,
Hmm.
and fulfilling yourself as much as you can. Because if you're doing something that you love and you feel fulfilled, then you're going to be able to help others fulfill what they are great at. If you're just depleting yourself constantly, then you just can't be who you're meant to be. And you can't help anybody around you.
And
So
it's not sustainable, right?
no,
I mean, your business could be going great, your practice, you could be killing it, but is it sustainable if you're
Right.
ultimately just kind of spinning your wheels?
Well, I don't necessarily know that we solved all of our problems or adversities, but I think we've given you some great suggestions. And if you have comments, please email us at hello@ladiesinlaw.com or feel free to comment below. See you next time.
thanks everybody.
Bye.
For listening to today's episode of Ladies in Law. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to shake things up in law and business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know what you think. Spread the word and share this podcast with your network. Follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes fun and sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep rocking it, keep breaking the mold, and as always, keep aspiring to inspire.